Ferrari is our poster child, representative of a new type of product coming out of R&D at Pfizer. The precision medicine is a transformational approach that one of our transformational approaches at Pfizer that's designed to improve the probability of success as well as improve the value of our medicines and vaccines that are delivered through what is becoming more commonly referred to as personalized healthcare. As we move along the spectrum, applying precision medicine approaches throughout the drug discovery and development process, we start first in the discovery part of R&D, and the emphasis there is on the human biology of human disease. And we move on, promising drug candidates that make it through that discovery process into our clinical trials, and then ultimately, products that are deemed safe and effective move on to regulators, ultimately get launched into the marketplace, and make their way into the medical practice end of the spectrum, and then bring that information all the way back again. So the benefits from both a research and a commercial perspective to this precision medicine approach can be outstanding. First, medicines that survive, medicines that we said are safe and effective for the targeted patient population, so regulators will approve. Secondly, medicines that are targeted, that are differentiated, so that payers will put them on their formularies. And then finally, medicines that are targeted, so that medical practitioners feel more confident in prescribing those medicines, and patients are more likely to adhere to the dosing regimens because they work for them. Now, across this biology, clinical, medical, or what we call biomedical continuum for short, this requires coordinating a lot of data, this precision medicine approach. You know, we talk about big data. There's some big, heavy data coming out of this. First, in the human biology space, what we're talking about here, DNA, data about gene mutations, data about the metabolic pathways or other pathways in our body. We learned about pathways in basic biology. Some of us remember that from high school. I know I needed to re-remember that. And what we call pathophysiology information, the disturbances in your body that come from disease. Now that gets mixed in with phenotype information, basically physical or biochemical characteristics that we can see or observe. That's coming from clinical trials as well as from the electronic medical and health records that Rod talked to us about earlier. And all of that information coming from more than 500 external partnerships that we work with in a variety of different ways in R&D at Pfizer to kind of create this virtual but very powerful ecosystem for open innovation. So what does all of this mean to an information technology group that's supporting precision medicine and R&D at Pfizer? First, to set the stage for that, let's start with an example set of partnerships. This is our network of centers for therapeutic innovation, an entrepreneurial model in R&D that accesses the best science in the world. And it does that by joining physicians, expert physicians, and scientists from academic medical centers with Pfizer's world-class scientists, drug development capabilities, and the breadth of resources that a company of our size is able to have. And the objective here is to speed that translation of innovative science into new medicines for patients. Today, it takes 9 to 15 years from the idea for a drug to the launch of a product. And we are trying to take 20 to 25% off this process through this type of approach. So the outreach for CTI, as we call it, extends to about 125,000 today, physicians and scientists at leading academic medical centers. And from that, we get biomedical information from about 50 million patient visits, and that is growing all the time. While we believe we have a model that has several entrepreneurial elements in terms of this partnership approach, it's no secret that all of pharma is embracing this partner model. So we thought that it was very important to establish Pfizer as a partner of choice, and we did that by taking kind of an outside-in view. What does it feel like to work with Pfizer from the outside? And that's a very different change in our philosophy, because we are big and people should want to work with us. The reality is that we needed to improve. And while it begins with mutual interest in the areas of science and patient outcomes to establish a partnership, that partnership can quickly be soured by the logistics of it all, and particularly from a technology end. So not wanting to have technology be any part of getting in the way in this more entrepreneurial model, what we did is establish what we call an alliance engine. At the heart of this is information that we collect about our partners and the nature of the partnerships in a collaboration partners information exchange. And a collaboration-centric, now that's kind of collaboration-centric security model, a little bit of an oxymoron. I'm sure you probably know a little bit about this. But it is very important in the world of R&D, where intellectual property is very important to preserve. We've augmented that with a kind of a fit-for-purpose playbook and a set of services that addresses the areas that you see around this slide. Things from identity, accounts, and access. I got to tell you, in the beginning, we treated everybody like they were a Pfizer employee. And that is not a fit-for-purpose model when you're trying to deal with 500 different partnerships and treat them all as if, again, you are them and you're working from the outside in. Along with those, we need to be able to provision both applications and desktops that are agile and fit for the purpose of that particular environment. And again, in the beginning, not a very cost-effective or scalable approach. We used to give everybody a Pfizer laptop. We made sure it had the Pfizer fingerprints on it and things along those lines. Not something you can sustain. End user support is very important in this, and we have to kind of take that. It has to fluidly go from the external into the internal and back to external. Social media and collaboration, we've talked about that a lot in this conference. That is important too. While we can't exactly use Facebook and LinkedIn in an R&D type model, those kinds of capabilities are things that we have to have, as well as collaboration, team sites, and all the way to more of the physical presence in terms of using either telepresence or high definition video. And those are quickly becoming integrated sources of physical presence. And lastly, data exchange and sharing. If we remember the data made from the 50 million patient visits that we talked about just in one example set of partnerships, that becomes very important. So what about all this information, and how does it enable precision medicine at Pfizer? First, we built a set of applications and processes that allow us to make the information what we call computationally accessible. So that human biology information can be integrated. We can look at that information and derive the right targets in our bodies that are able to address the disease that we're focusing on. We combine that human biology information with phenotype information from our clinical trials and begin to design medicines that are apt for the target that we're talking about, that are safe and effective, therefore most likely to survive, and that benefit the targeted cluster of patient population that we're talking about. We're increasingly using electronic medical records, electronic health records, along with clinical trials to collect this information and constantly assess the drug response, metabolic response, safety issues throughout that. And then throughout this whole continuum of collecting and integrating and using this data, predictive modeling and simulation continue to be enhanced by the new data that's coming in. That's used to cut the amount of time and resources it takes to get to decisions and the kinds of outcomes we're looking for. Yeah, I'm on my second to last slide. This use and reuse of biomedical information is important to our strategy for precision medicine. It was a bit humbling, and I'm sure many of you have seen this, that with all of that complex applications and sophisticated algorithms and data assets that we had, that our Data Without Borders strategy wouldn't hang together unless we had some glue to put it all together. We were missing some basic services. So we created a business insights group with a biomedical informatics services kind of capability to address the things that you see on the right-hand side of this chart. It's important to know the data assets that you have, to be able to catalog them, provide access to them. You have to constantly reduce obstacles, including obstacles that incentivize the reuse of data. You need to know who can help in the silos and borders that exist in the organization to connect all these dots. And lastly, you do need to know which tools are fit for purpose for the job that you're doing. One final thing, you talked a little bit, Sanjay, about culture in your presentation. This is absolutely imperative, not just to, I believe, Pfizer in the pharmaceutical industry, but any of us that are working in technology and supporting whatever business that we're supporting. You can get really wrapped up in all this data and all the complexity and all the scale. And we think that it's really important for ourselves, as well as any of the partners that are working with us in technology at Pfizer, to understand that in the end, we help make medicines. Thank you.